Hello, everyone, and happy Cybersecurity Month. My name is Carolyn Cooper, and I am the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Project Lead the Way. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar this afternoon. Today, we welcome educators from across the country to discover ways that PLTW can provide an exceptional learning experience for students and to share how to make programs possible through various funding opportunities. Before we begin, I will share a few tips on how to maximize your webinar experience. We have several PLTW team members joining us today to moderate the Q&A as well as the chat box. So please join the conversation, share your story, and ask questions by engaging with fellow participants and subject matter experts. Don't worry if we aren't able to answer your question live today. We will follow up after the webinar with additional information and answers to outstanding questions. So again, I encourage you to use the chat area to message about the content and network with other attendees. And we also welcome you to take our next step survey at the end of today's webinar. Our agenda. Today, we're going to give you a brief introduction first to Project Lead the Way and what it provides you and your students. Then we'll hear from actual PLTW students about their experiences with the Project Lead the Way program. Then we'll have a discussion with a panel of PLTW computer science teachers and administrators about the successes they've had and how they've implemented and funded their PLTW science programs. And then after you hear from your peers, we will show you what it's like to be immersed in a PLTW computer science classroom. So then we'll share implementation steps and various funding options schools and districts have. And finally, we'll round out our time by answering any questions. So it's sure to be a jam-packed session this afternoon. At a time when computer science is so integral to how we work and live, PLTW Computer Science curriculum empowers students in grades 9 through 12 to become creators instead of merely consumers of the technology all around them. Time and time again, we hear stories about how excited students are when it's time for Project Lead the Way, how students who normally don't step forward are the ones who shine in class, and also about the effect on the teaching experience. We hear how teachers who've reached a burnout point have been reinvigorated once they've had the chance to teach Project Lead the Way. And just all across the US, the stories are consistent. PLTW's research-proven, hands-on, problem-based curriculum unlocks students' and teachers' potential. The PLTW Computer Science program is designed for students in grades 9 through 12, rounding out the pre-K through 12 computer science pathway. So whether building apps to meet client needs or exploring cybersecurity, the program engages students in interdisciplinary activities that not only build knowledge and skills in computer science, but also empower students to develop essential skills such as problem solving, critical and creative thinking, communication, collaboration, and perseverance. The program's 4 year-long interdisciplinary courses engage students in compelling real-world challenges as students work together to design solutions. They learn computational thinking, not just how to code, and become better thinkers and communicators as a result. So in honor of Cybersecurity Month, we want to deep dive into our PLTW cybersecurity course to give you a sense for how we approach computer science education in our classrooms. PLTW cybersecurity is a full-year course that exposes high school students to the many aspects of digital and information security while encouraging socially responsible choices and ethical behavior. Throughout the course, students explore the many educational and career paths available to cybersecurity experts, as well as other careers that comprise the field of information security by participating in a variety of activities and projects that challenge them to think differently and develop new skills. Students start with issues that are close to home and broaden their knowledge as they gain more skills. There are 4 units. The first, personal security, such as safe social media practices and problems that can occur on a laptop, the idea being how students can secure their own personal computers. We then move to a server-client architecture where students work with web-based security and how to discover a breach of an e-commerce site. In Unit 3, students use real-world security tools to test and secure a simulated water treating facility, which again is hosted in our virtual environment. And finally, in the last unit, students move to an applied cybersecurity course where they explore cryptography, digital forensics, and how to solve a cybercrime. So to do all of this, students use Amazon Web Server Labs in a secure virtual environment to role play as cybersecurity experts and then train like real cybersecurity experts do while keeping local servers and networks safe. So shifting gears just a little bit, I want to talk about how we prepare educators to lead all of this amazing learning. And we build their confidence in the field of computer science along the way. So our amazing teachers have proven time and time again that you do not need to be a computer science expert to be an amazing computer science teacher. PLTW provides transformative professional development. Our core training is designed to create dynamic learning experiences for educators through powerful and flexible instructional support, as well as an ongoing professional community. Teachers take on the role of a student, engage in in-depth exploration of PLTW coursework, and gain invaluable experience to take back to their classrooms. So now that we've provided a big picture of the PLTW Computer Science program, we want you to hear directly from some of our students. Last fall, we were able to interview students from Bartlesville High School in Oklahoma about their PLTW computer science experiences. While watching the interviews, keep an eye out for the transportable skills that these students possess. We couldn't be prouder of them, and we hope you are as well.
I don't know. I really like the cybersecurity projects that we've done so far, just trying to look through all the files that there is and make sure that all the malware has been removed, and then just making sure that you prevent any other malware from being downloaded. But I think that's probably been my favorite so far.
My favorite project was probably the most challenging for me was the prisoner's dilemma in computer science principles, where we kind of got to learn how Python programs can interact with each other and kind of communicate. So that was cool.
I like PLTW because it grants you a lot more freedom. Like, you can solve a problem in your own way rather than just having to follow the curriculum.
I also took the engineering PLTW courses, and in both the computer science and engineering, you definitely get a sense of just real world application of like what you learn in school. So math, English, just like anything that you can apply that you've already learned, you get to do in PLTW program.
This is stuff that relates to what's going on in industry today. So therefore, you can kind of have a way to really visualize and see how we can take what we learn and input it in things that are relevant in industry today.
With PLTW, you're able to make mistakes and fix it your own way instead of having a set way of getting to one point. You're really able to use everything that you've learned and then just put everything into that, and then with everything relating to each other. Since so much like modern technology is based off of just coding and then just knowing a whole bunch of more stuff about computers than like most people do. Like it's really
It's super simple. Just I don't have all the answers, but I have some that other people might not have. So as these two said, being able to come together to solve one big problem with one circular solution. And then also when you start beginning working in groups, you notice there's a lot of clashing, as you said, and difficulties, and some people might be too stubborn. But over time, you actually learn how to work in groups better. So once you get into CSA and second semester CSP, things are a lot more efficient.
The quality of work that you're able to do in PLTW increases as you can work in groups, and getting to work with people that you're not very comfortable working with is a great experience for the real world and in your job. So we're all going to work with people that we don't like and like. So
what I like about working in groups is that, like, it's nice to have another set of eyes. Like, if you may be stuck on a problem and just like you can't get past it, but if you have someone's different perspective on it, it might have a simple solution that you're just overlooking. So it really helps you work through problems.
Yeah, I want to get my degree in mechanical engineering and probably in the long run go into like project management and stuff like that.
I'm planning on becoming an engineer. I'm not entirely sure of what type, but just engineering in general, probably.
Right now I'm debating between computer science and mechanical engineering, but for sure something research-based, where we're trying to find solutions to things.
Wow, every time I see these student interviews, I am reminded why I do what I do. Thank you so much to these students for sharing their time with us last fall so that you're able to hear from them today. And thank you so much to our panelists for being here this afternoon to share their stories. I will briefly introduce all of you and then we'll dive into our questions. First, we have Ms. Amanda Binkley, our 21-22 Project Lead the Way Outstanding Computer Science teacher with Odessa High School in Appoquinimink School District in Delaware. We also have Mr. Randy Mills, our 21-22 Project Lead the Way Computer Science National Teacher of the Year with Rangeview High School in Aurora Public Schools in Colorado. And lastly, we have Mr. Derek Reed, Pascagoula Gautier School District in Mississippi. Welcome, all of you. Well, I'll dive into our first question. What was your initial motivation or the initial motivation for bringing Project Lead the Way Computer Science to your school or district? What problem were you solving for? I'll start with you, Ms. Binkley.
So our school was working towards a career pathway model for our students, and we knew that we wanted to provide our students who selected computer science with a quality experience. We had already incorporated Project Lead the Way curriculum into our engineering pathway and had seen remarkable results, which led us then to adopt PLTW for our computer science pathway.
Thank you so much. And same question for you, Mr. Mills. What created the initial motivation for bringing PLTW Computer Science to your school?
Like most school districts, we saw the emergence of coding and computer science. Our school is within 2 miles of a Northrop Grumman office, a Raytheon office, and Buckley Air Force Base. We needed to support our community with workers to fill those jobs. I wasn't willing to wait for the district to establish a committee to explore options and then take 5 to 7 years to actually implement anything. We were not patient. And when we saw that PLTW was moving towards computer science, we immediately jumped on board because we had a great relationship with them in engineering. And so the computer science was an easy sell at the district level.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mills. I really also appreciate you highlighting the industry education connection there in your community. And same for you, same question for you, Mr. Reed. Tell me a little bit about what created the need for Project Lead the Way in your school.
Well, it's funny, it's similar to Miss Binkley and Mr. Mills. We happen to be situated near Chevron Refinery, which is the largest oil refinery in the United States. And then we have Ingalls Shipbuilding that's in Pascagoula as well, which is one of the largest defense contractors, and we also have Northrop Grumman, NASA, all of those within 30 minutes to 45 minutes from our school. And similar to when we started looking at engineering 8 years ago, we had a curriculum through the state, and it wasn't diverse or as involved and as hands-on as the Project Lead the Way's curriculum was. And when Mississippi State became a certified instructional school, we tend to see the value in what Project Lead the Way offered. And so when we started looking at a computer science cybersecurity program 2 to 3 years ago, it was a no-brainer. We were familiar with the curriculums that PLTW offered in engineering and biomedical science, and just knew it would be something that we needed to go with.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And next question here, what's been the impact of PLTW Computer Science on your students? I'll start with you, Ms. Binkley.
So PLTW pushes my students to do more and to develop a more enduring understanding of computer science. Students like my class because it isn't based on rote memorization. Instead, they hone their soft skills to become more effective problem solvers. Colleagues who observe the students in my classroom often remark on how some of their most challenging students seem to be enthusiastic about what they are learning in my class. PLTW empowers students to take ownership of their learning and really makes them happy to engage in the process of that learning.
Thank you. Same question for you, Mr. Mills. What have you observed? What's been the impact of Project Lead the Way Computer Science on your students?
Well, in Colorado, the Colorado School of Mines and the University of Colorado are very prestigious programs in Colorado, and we weren't sending too many kids their way. Now we have a pipeline directly to mines and CU. We place several kids in their programs every year, and students are having success and access at the collegiate level programs as well as industry before leaving high school. As for the teachers, we have a close relationship with all of the groups I mentioned above, and the benefit has been very high quality professional development and the opportunity to work with college students, outside agencies like the NSA and the Department of Defense.
Oh, that's tremendous. And how about you, Mr. Reed? What's been the impact of PLTW Computer Science on your students?
Well, on the students, again, they're more focused, they're more knowledgeable, more engaged. Industry, we have 140 students this year doing internships of some kind with our CTE programs, and businesses are looking at our programs to do that. And computer science is one that we're looking at targeting our district ISD department, letting them be kind of their third year, go out into the schools and work as liaisons with our computer ISD department. And and we actually had one student this year, she was one of two in the state that was National Center for Women in Information Scholarship winner. And she also was named a National Cyber Scholar. And this year our instructor was asked with Mississippi State University to teach computer science to instructors in Uzbekistan for the next 3 years. So, and that's all through her experience with Project Lead the Way, professional development and engaging with students. So.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Now, each of you obviously teaches a PLTW classroom and have shared how some of the experiences that you brought to the classroom, are starting to show up in students, pathways even outside of school. But tell me what it's been like for you to teach a PLTW classroom. How has teaching PLTW changed your practice? I'll start with you, Mr. Mills.
I'm a believer that teachers should do something significant every 6 to 10 years. And I was lucky enough to be recruited into PLTW in the last third of my career. It has revitalized me and my teaching. I started with engineering 10 years ago and have added computer science to my repertoire. And I do as much professional development now as I did my first few years of teaching. I can't learn enough. So I keep pushing myself and learn more every day so that I can bring that back into the classroom for my students. I have put off retiring twice because I just can't wait to get to school in the morning and dive into the PLTW courses with the kids. My PLTW classroom is built on the APB, activities, projects, and problems model, and has been very successful in making students love the class and have the same love of learning that I do.
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you so much. And how about you, Ms. Binkley? How has teaching Project Lead the Way impacted you in your career?
So it's been a pretty significant impact. As an educator who has taught all 4 core subjects in middle school, I have a lot of experience with different curriculums. So upon becoming a PLTW teacher, I was most surprised by the level of commitment they have to train their educators. The support system they established through core training and all the ongoing learning opportunities really transformed my teaching practice. And for my students, PLTW and computer science engineering are so much more than just another class they have on their schedules. So they look forward to coming to my class. The learning opportunities that take place in the classroom daily, it just excites them. And it makes teaching so rewarding and fun. Even under the current circumstances, I still look forward to being with my students in our space and seeing what they come up with as they develop solutions to the presented problems.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Thank you so much. And Mr. Reed, can you share a little bit about what it's like teaching a Project Lead the Way classroom from your perspective and how that has impacted your career?
Well, I'm sorry to say I've never been an instructor. I started my first experience with Project Lead the Way was as a CTE counselor when we went to Scottsdale Magnet in 2014 in Louisiana. And when we first started researching when we were going to add engineering, and we were torn between our state curriculum or Project Lead the Way. But being a counselor, now being an administrator, I'm in and out of classrooms a lot. And I know the engagement of students in those classes compared to some in, for lack of a better word, regular classes, and the engagement, the interaction, the advancement of those students, even first semester compared to students that's even been in a class for a year is phenomenal to me. That's why when we looked at expanding, and we're actually probably adding biomedical science next school year as a 3rd-year health science option. But that's why it's just a no-brainer when we look at adding courses, we look at Project Lead the Way first, seeing what they offer.
That's terrific. And what have teachers reported to you in terms of their level of engagement and interest in teaching Project Lead the Way? It sounds phenomenal that you'd be interested in adding another course. What have they reported on how teaching Project Lead the Way has changed their practice?
Well, it's like Mr. Mills said, we have one that for the past 3 years that teaches engineering who has been able to retire at any time, but she loves teaching the curriculum so much, she don't want to leave. And then we have one who's relatively new that we recruited, and she takes advantage of constant professional development. Chevron pays for any new certifications that we get, but extra professional developments like this summer, we tasked our teachers to get 16 hours of externships in business and industry or instruction. And she got over 200 hours with her training through Mississippi State or doing stuff on her own just because she wants to learn in as much as possible in order to teach her students. And that's what I found is the 2 teachers that got the most externship hours this summer was my engineering teacher and my computer science teacher through Project Lead the Way. So
that's amazing. Thank you. Now, just to pivot just a little bit, we know that there are many ways to implement Project Lead the Way programs in schools. Can you share a little bit about how you implemented the program and possibly give advice on how schools can build the case to keep the program and continue growing it? I'll start with you, Mr. Mills.
Thank you. I have a 2-pronged approach. I've thought about this a long time. And the first thing that I do is create an elevator speech, which is a 30 to 45-second speech that I can share with parents, building and district administrators, school board members, and our feeder schools. These speeches highlight the needs and the wants for the students in the community. The second and more important is to work with the students and show them that fun and learning can in fact go hand in hand. Demonstrations, co-curricular programs have had a huge impact on our class membership in our building. I also try to pull underrepresented populations to our program. We've achieved racial and ethnic parity over the last few years, but next we have our eyes set on gender equity. As a result of that, we've started a Girls Who Code Club as a support. It's a never-ending battle. The greatest compliment, however, I've ever received as a girl walking out of class a few weeks ago, turned to her friend and said, "You know, I feel really smart in this class." Doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Mills. And how about you, Ms. Binkley? What advice would you give schools considering Project Lead the Way, and how did you go about your implementation?
So at the high school level in my district, students are expected to select a learning pathway. They will take courses from their selected pathway every year of their high school career and will culminate with capstone projects that will require them to partner with an industry professional and work to develop a product from start to finish. This continuous emphasis on the importance of the learning that they're engaging in through their career pathway courses helps to create buy-in for the work that they do. A unique step that my district has taken is the hiring of work-based learning specialists who support pathway teachers with building relationships with industry partners in the community. This helps to lessen the workload for the teachers who are responsible for classroom learning opportunities.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Thank you. And how about Mr. Reed? What were some of the ways that you went about implementing the program in your district, and what advice could you give others on how to keep the program, make the case to keep the program, and also to continue growing it?
Well, when we first started researching, we're on block schedule, and our CTE programs are a year long. They take up 2 blocks, first and second semester. And we have a partnership with local community college for full scholarships with a 90 GPA and 2 years of a CTE program. So when I implemented, I was the CTE counselor when our district did the implementation. So we implemented engineering and now computer science. Although it's 4 different classes, we make them take the classes. Like with engineering and computer science, it's suggested that you take them in order. So it's first semester 1 class and second. So we did it, implemented, yes, it's 4 different classes, but you have to take them in sequence. And we want them to take it their 10th and 11th grade year, like our regular CTE classes, because we are on the Career Academy, where we are pursuing career academies. Our 9th grade is like a career exploration with freshman seminar, and that lead, we want them to take 2 years of the CTE, and then their senior year do an internship with business industry in that career model. So with that in mind, that's how we set it up, and that's what I would suggest. I mean, of course, if you're on 7 block day, you have to do it a different way, but that's the way we had to do it. And then Mississippi State started MSU on the coast at our community college. They partnered with them to bring 5-year or 4-year engineering program to the Gulf Coast. So with that in mind, we're 100% free and reduced lunch district. So I just use money talks as a parent. I know it does to me. Not every student is going to make 30 or above on an ACT to get full scholarship. So knowing that scholarships available, knowing what they're available for engineering and computer science, just focus your programs on that. And when you talk to parents and talk to students, just be sure that you have their path in mind and you can make it easily accessible and understandable for them.
Thank you so much for that advice. And thank you to all of our panelists for taking the time to share your experiences with us this afternoon. They will be on the line and stay with us for the remainder of the webinar, and we'll be participating in our Q&A. So if you have questions for them, we'll be glad to address them a little bit later on. So one of the best ways to find out about a PLTW classroom, in addition to hearing from our teachers and educators who lead those classrooms, is to actually visit a PLTW classroom to see the students and teachers in action. But since we aren't able to physically take you to a classroom, we wanted to provide you with the next best thing, a 3-minute peek at what your classroom could be. Wow. Thank you to all of the students and teachers for their enthusiasm for Project Lead the Way programs. And thank you again to our panelists for taking the time to share their experiences. Next, I'd like to transition to our presenter this afternoon to talk through some of the other areas of our work and the investment categories. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolyn. As Director of Implementations, one of my favorite parts of my job is working alongside those amazing administrators and teachers in creating a vision for their students. Now, we just heard from our panelists how they've seen that firsthand the way Project Lead the Way has transformed the learning and teaching in their schools. But the first step in that transformation process is in creating a strategic plan. And part of that plan is having a detailed view of the required investments and identify the funding sources that you can use to support your program. Now, PLTW programs vary in cost, but each program includes investments in 3 categories: participation fees, professional development, and equipment and supplies. The participation fee is an annual fee that covers all of the curriculum access and software rights for your PLTW programs. To be able to teach one of the courses, our teachers must be trained by PLTW in our core training experience. This is an online training led by some of the best PLTW teachers in the country. Lastly, our curriculum is project-based and very hands-on, so there are some equipment and supplies that you will need for your implementation. Now that we know more about the investments needed, let's talk about some funding opportunities to help you grow your programs. Every year, we have a wide variety of PLTW grants available for all of the different programs in our pathways. We have grants for brand new programs as well as for program expansion. These PLTW grants are made possible by our partnerships with leading organizations across the country. And since 2016, we have awarded over 5,300 grants to schools, totaling over $51 million. And this year, even better, we have even more grants available to schools than ever before. Are you looking to make that bigger impact in your district with PLTW by adding new programs? These new PLTW grants will cover the cost of teacher training as well as program participation fees for the next 2 years. Please check our grant opportunity webpage to find out more and schedule a meeting with your local PLTW team member. We are ready and willing to find out more about your district vision and help you with your grant application. Through these grants, PLTW will partner with your school district to help you throughout your PLTW implementation journey and beyond. Applying for PLTW grants is easy through our simple application process located in your My PLTW account. And if you don't already have one, you can create this account quickly and easily on our website. Now, we award grants on a rolling basis from July 1st through June 30th, so schools may submit applications annually. PLTW keeps applications on file all the way until June 30th of each year, so we may consider schools for more than one grant opportunity throughout the funding cycle. Our PLTW grant opportunities are amazing, especially this year, and we encourage absolutely everyone to apply. But in addition to grant funds, there are other federal funding options to help you grow your PLTW programs as well. The American Rescue Plan, ARP, just signed into law this year, provides highly flexible, unprecedented funding through the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, also known as ESSER. This program creates a unique opportunity for innovation, equity, and access within your school, and many schools are already taking advantage. These highly flexible funds may be used to support all 3 PLTW investment areas. All the items you see on this slide can be used with the funding: curriculum for all students, teacher training, allowable ESEA and Perkins uses, equipment and supplies, technology, in-school, after-school, and summer learning. Now, because the Act references evidence-based curriculum, we created evidence papers, one for each grade band, which enable you to dive deeper into the structure of our evidence-based curriculum, learn about our unique problem-based PBL approach, and review the research supporting the positive impact PLTW has on student achievement. You can download these resources from our website. Now, is your head spinning yet? There are so many opportunities. And to help you break it down and compare, we have created a funding side-by-side resource on our website. This will help you see what federal funds are available and which ones can be used for our 3 investment categories. Once you get a handle on how these funding opportunities differ, you are probably wondering, where do I start? For that, I'm now going to turn it back over to Carolyn.
Thank you so much, Paul. Yes, we are happy to support you with next steps. We recommend that you connect with the Project Lead the Way team member to discuss any questions you have. Feel free to visit our website, pltw.org, as well as be sure to apply for grant funding at mypltw.org. And this actually concludes the content of our webinar today, but our PLTW team members and panelists will remain on the line to answer any questions you have. I've already seen several come through the chat box. For those of you that won't be staying on, thank you again for your time. We will launch a poll to find out what next we can help you with, and you should see that on your screen momentarily. Also, within a week, you'll receive an email with the recording of this webinar and additional resources to help you answer those outstanding questions. But if you'd like to reach out to a PLTW team member sooner, use the link that's been posted in the chat box. And this information will also be included in that follow-up email I just referenced. So thank you again for joining us, and we will be on the line answering any questions that folks have. Okay. I'm starting to see, do I see any of those coming through the chat just yet? Okay, I've got one that's been sent over here. So can anyone train to teach Project Lead the Way? I've never taught something like computer science or engineering. Okay.
Do you want me to take that?
Sure.
So I actually was trained as a science teacher. So I was a science teacher for 10 years. And then we decided to bring Project Lead the Way curriculum to our school district at the middle school level. So I went from being a science teacher to all of a sudden being an engineering teacher and a computer science teacher. And it was the best change I've ever made in my career. So since then, I'm now high school teaching engineering, and I don't have any engineering background, but truly the training that's provided by Project Lead the Way is enough. I mean, really more than enough to prepare me to teach these courses.
Thank you so much.
And I was going to say, I've been on both sides of that. The desk is as a learner as well as being a master teacher doing the trainings. And so having trained almost 500-600 folks now, I can say that we've not lost any over the years. And someone also asked about what the 80 hours online looks like. And honestly, we have a step-by-step that we go through the entire curriculum, as well as talk about issues such as additional professional development, courageous conversations on ethical questions, and computer or cybersecurity is one of the areas. And then one of the things that we provide with master teachers, and although it's not written, but it's an unwritten that every master teacher I know is, we are available. I'm still answering questions from folks that took the class 5 years ago. And so we're there. That 80 hours extends several years down the line.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Mills. Really appreciate your point of view there. I have another question that's come through the chat. My school is thinking of starting a CTE computer science pathway. Exactly what does it cost to start a computer science pathway? What does it cost to maintain the pathway each year? I know that's probably going to depend on a multitude of factors, but I will defer to some of maybe our Project Lead the Way team members to maybe take that question or follow up with that individual, provide some voiceover for us. Okay, I see them.
I can share from my side. So Project Lead does have a cost, like a shop, and you can kind of determine what your cost will be through that shop, the PLTW shop. I will say for computer science, the cost upfront is it's bigger, but then there's not a lot of consumable cost each year. So it does kind of dwindle after you get that initial rollout phase done.
And in the cybersecurity course, there is a $1,000 lab fee. But in comparison to using self-contained programs like the US Cyber Range or the Virginia Cyber Range, it is a small fraction of the cost of using those particular tools. So the $1,000 is money very well spent.
And I can piggyback on that one as well. This is a great opportunity to connect with your PLTW director, and they'll be happy to work with you and establish your implementation plan. The investment will really depend on student numbers of sections, number of teachers that are getting trained, and we can really help think through a sustainable plan for, 3 to 5 years.
Thank you, Andy. I see another question here in the chat. Are special programs required? Maybe we need a little bit more detail around what's meant by that, or perhaps one of our PLTW team members can provide voiceover to that question or answer. Any special programs required? I think we might need.
My assumption here would be special programs would be software, because I know engineering does specify. It depends on the course. You can get the list of equipment and supplies, or not equipment and supplies, software directly on our .org website. I will add that into the chat now, but not sure if anybody else wants to jump in here. We do have recommended software and like whitelist, and try and give you as much resources as possible for you guys to have access to it. And it's all included within your participation fee.
Most of the softwares that we use in computer science are either open source or readily available at no cost. So there's no additional cost there. The charm of the cybersecurity course is that we are using industry standard softwares inside of these labs without having to have a great deal of stuff on our machines. And every program will actually work even down to the level of a Chromebook. And so that is also a very big selling point for districts.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Mills and Valadia. Wonderful. Well, I don't currently see any additional questions in the chat, but if those come up for you after this webinar and after you receive those materials, please don't hesitate to reach out to your PLTW director. We'd be happy to have an additional conversation and follow up. Thank you all so much for your time this afternoon. It's been a pleasure just hearing from the experiences of our educators that joined us and answering all the questions that you've raised. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.